She's My Prey by Celeste King. Episode 4.
What do you think is going to happen in today's episode?
I already know.
You already know? How could you possibly know before the episode comes out?
Because I got the full uncut first season from worldsofprotheka.com.
And you finished the story without me?
Oh, now, Eroth, don't be like that. We worked the project together. Besides, code YouTube 30 made it 30% off.
Reading from a script and listening to a story are two different things, Samara.
All right. Why don't I bring out a bottle of my best wine after this, and we take a drink every time we hear our own voices?
You've got yourself a deal. Let's start reading. I can't wait to see how you are when you're tipsy on wine.
You're in for quite the night, big boy. This is episode 4 of Celeste King's She's My Prey.
Chapter 19. Renem. The second she stepped out of the house, my attention was on her. I was close to leaving after seeing how active the house was tonight. I thought maybe I needed more time to find a way in. But her scent hit me on the breeze, and it calls to me in a way I've never experienced before. There's nothing else that can hold my focus when she's near. I scrambled to the edge of the forest line and up a tree just to get a glimpse of her. And when I did, adrenaline poured through me. She looks stunning, as she always has, but her body is swathed in large poofs of white fabric, and her face is laden in a strange, heavy paint that muddies her smell. Even despite all of the strangeness of her current appearance, so different from the first time I saw her, she practically glows with beauty. I've never felt anything but hungry before, but ever since I saw her, each night I've dreamed of her. I've realized that I find something in her that others do not possess. She is undeniably, gut-wrenchingly beautiful. It's been so long since I've even had a frame of reference for that word, but it echoes through my mind when I lay eyes on her. And when that dark elf thrust her forward, her scent shifted. I smelled it instantly, the fear and hesitation. And I knew I had to get my girl out of there. At first, I planned to slip up to the crowd without detection. The shadows are long now, and I believed that I could slaughter a few servants before anyone even noticed me. It's working too. I've closed about half of the distance between us without detection. But then I look up to see her at the edge of the altar, and my madness sets in. My senses zone in on the threat, and my whole body starts to tremble with the need to hunt and destroy. Hunger claws at my throat as my vision darkens as my other senses take over. I don't even realize I've launched myself into the air until the first scream erupts from the crowd. Run! A deep chuckle rumbles through my chest as I land harshly on the ground, chairs and bones snapping beneath my weight. I waste no time swiping the closest dark elf and wrenching their body apart. My mind struggles for control as I devour the severed limbs, blood pouring down my throat and spilling across my open jaw. It's glorious, and for a moment, it's the only thing I can think of. It's been so long since I was able to lose myself in the hunt, and as more dark elves run, my instincts are triggered. I bound effortlessly through the crowd, ripping their bodies apart to feed my insatiable hunger. All conscious thought is now lost on me, and I'm certain I would have kept going until there was nothing left at the manor. But then the breeze shifts. My head jerks in that direction, my visions blurring along the edges as my mind fights for control. As Sadie's scent washes over me, my bloodlust starts to clear, and the carnage around me becomes apparent. The ground is more red than green now, and everything around me is a mass of splintered debris. I can barely tell what pieces are from the chairs and what is bone. There are still some survivors rushing away from me, and while I am tempted to go after them, Sadie's scent calls to me more. Get away from me! Her screams divert my attention away from the distractions littered around me, and I turn to see Indor, the very elf that led me to her, and another man that looks remarkably like him rushing toward her. No! I roar as I push off the ground, my wings beating powerful as I swoop over them. Sadie has scrambled back from them, putting as much distance between her and the elves who took her away from me as possible. She's slower than them, though, in her restrictive clothes, and her small body isn't made for outrunning their lithe forms. Luckily for her, I am made to destroy, and I will destroy anyone who dares to harm her. I'm not going with you. Her scent is tainted with panic, and I want to tell my little Day she will always be safe with me. Much like the animal in the woods, I will always chase this sweet creature. I've got you, I murmur as I scoop her up, pulling her tight against my chest, and she gasps, her eyes rounding wide. What? I won't let you go again, I promise, as I dive for the forest. My fingers comb through her strands. Nothing will keep us apart. She's not as excited as I am. She squirms and squeals, tearing at my hands, and I am nearly manic as she almost comes loose. Stop! I'm going to drop you! Let me go! She screeches. Before I can respond, something crackles through the air, and instinctively, I dive to the side. A bolt of magic soars past us, stunning Sadie so that she finally falls still in my arms momentarily, the burst of magic hitting a nearby tree. It explodes, and I twist so that the splinters land in my fur instead of puncturing her smooth skin. The dark elves follow us into the woods, and I fight to keep low enough to blend in with trees without catching my wings. Blasts of magic and arrows pierce the sky, and a few snag on my limbs. More and more elves are flooding the forest, and I'm reaching the point where I am unable to maneuver all their attacks. There's no way for me to avoid this many projectiles pinned on me, and I decide that perhaps if I fly higher, I can diminish their accuracy. But with the beat of my wings, agony burns down my spine and through the membrane attached to my back. I roar, fighting to stay airborne, and scrambling for one of the treetops. One of the damn elves must have hit me. When I find out who it was, I realize as I twist to catch myself from falling out of the air that Sadie has pulled a sharp pin from her hair and torn through my wing with it. I'm stunned by it, and I miss the trunk I was scrambling for, my other wing failing me. We're not going to be able to keep flying, I know, so I curl my wings around Sadie as best I can and flip so that I am beneath her. Pain lacerates my body as I hit branch after branch, but it is necessary. I needed something to slow us down, and this will keep me from being too damaged from a harsh impact. So far, I've only sustained superficial, albeit painful wounds. We fall through the last branch, and my back slams into the ground of the forest. I groan from the force of it, my arms slackening as I roll to the side. I'm almost certain I've broken one of my ribs, and my wing hangs limply to the side. But all of that is worth it to have my little Day back. I try to roll to the side, intent on standing with Sadie still in my arms, but she takes advantage of my slower movements. She slips free of me, her breath coming in harsh gasps as she takes off through the woods. I chuckle softly. "Oh, my little Day," I whisper as I watch her legs pumping. I can hear her heartbeat from here as she tasks off through the woods like the little creature she reminds me of. Only she moves so much slower than her four-legged counterpart. She glances back at me with wide eyes, and the sight of her giving chase, especially as the fear taints her scent, awakens the predator in me. I have to have her, even if I am damaged. I'm not letting her get away from me this time, and I especially am not letting one of these dark elves take her away again. I will stalk these woods all night and rip them all to shreds if I have to. But Sadie is coming home with me. Despite the protests from my body, I roll onto all fours and slowly push myself up off the ground. Fallen leaves and dirt stick to me, and blood seeps down my fur until half my torso feels slick. But I ignore it. As I stumble to my feet, I know there is only one thing that matters to me: catching my prey. And I am not one to give up. No matter how many times she escapes me, I will find her again. She will learn soon that I will not be bested. I always get what I want, and what I want is her. "Sadie!" A voice calls to my right, a familiar one. "Sadie, come back! Let me help you! I know you're hurt!" "We'll find her." "You better, or I will take great pleasure in killing every single one of you. You were supposed to keep that monster away from her." His voice is filled with bitter rage, but I know the truth. There is fear tainting his scent, and I want to laugh. He calls me the monster, but I wasn't the one Sadie was running from. And if he wants to call me a monster, fine. I'll be the one haunting her dreams while he's the one she's avoiding. In the end, she'll be mine. Then let the best monster find her first, I silently challenge. And then I take off through the woods, searching for my little day that has seemingly disappeared. I only hope that I will be the one who finds her first. Chapter 20. Renem. I'm fighting to stay ahead of the dark elves, but luckily the forest is quiet tonight. The other animals seem to know that it's wise to hide right now, but the predators in the forest aren't as wise. Behind me, the dark elves continue to call Sadie's name as if she would want to go to them. They are providing her with their location so she can easily get away. And I know that she must be going in the opposite direction, so they are easily leading me toward her. I follow her scent in the air, ducking down an overgrown path as I hear the crack of a tree branch. Sadie may be sneaky, but she cannot escape me. I was made to find her. Wherever she is, she will be mine. Ahead I spot a broken branch, and I pause to lift its leaves up to my nostrils, inhaling deeply. A thrill runs through me when I find Sadie's scent clinging to the foliage. A harsh thud has my head turning, and another snap tells me I am going the right way. She's moving so fast she's not looking where she's going. I can hear every telltale sign of her movements, and the path she has chosen is silent enough that there is nothing to muffle it. I keep my gait soft and slow, not wanting to spook her. Even the dark elves' calls have fallen quiet, and I wonder if she thinks she has lost all of us. She might have shaken her captors, but I will always be right there with her. The tall brush has a definite path through it where she trampled the grass under her foot, and I shake my head. She's lucky I am the one tracking her. If someone is to catch her, and with her lack of skills, it should be me. My long legs and agile movements must be gaining on her, because I hear a sharp inhale and I dart forward, cocking my head to listen as a soft thud rings out. She thinks she is hidden from me. I follow where I heard the sound come from, stepping into a more open clearing. Here it's harder to tell where she went with so many hollowed trees and low-hanging branches, but her scent is stronger. I have to be close. The moon above shifts so that very little light is filtering through, and it would make it hard to see if I wasn't able to see so well in dim environments. But with my healthy diet of woodland animals, I inherited their abilities and am not slowed down by the lack of light. My hoof lands on a dry branch, a mistake I haven't made in weeks, and it snaps. The sound echoes through the clearing, and I cock my head, waiting to see if my prey will run when she realizes how close I am. But it stays silent. I keep moving, my eyes tracking over the ground. I don't see a sign of prints, though it would be hard to leave an impression on the dry dirt or any more broken branches. That means she must have found somewhere to hide. Tipping my head back, I check the first place I think of, the trees. But there is no shimmer of white or a slender body clinging to any of the limbs. That means she must be on the ground somewhere, and though the underbrush is thick, it's not enough to conceal her body. So, where is she gone? I crack another branch, but this time I don't care. I hope it causes her to stir, to give me something to go on. It's only a matter of time before the dark elves catch up to us and I need to get her out of here. Her scent tinges with fear, and the softest rustling confirms she is near. But it's not enough for me to pinpoint her location. I decide it's time to take a chance since I can no longer hear the others and call out to her. This forest is not your safe space, little one, I warn her, hoping she will feel my sense of urgency. We have to get out of her before I am overwhelmed by my wounds and the dark elves that are surely closing in on us. I step forward, still scanning the forest floor. I can hear her heartbeat now fluttering intensely. She's afraid, which is smart, but she must know she is safe with me. You cannot hide from me, I tell her, hoping it will coax her out. I do not want to waste any more time looking for her. We should be taking advantage of how dark it is, so I can get her out of here. And as much as I love the game of chase, I'm not a fan of seeking out prey that hides. I drop on all fours, certain that I am very near as her heart beats louder. Her breathing is heavy and her scent is wafting out to me. I inhale deeply, taking it in, and I am almost certain the direction that it is coming from. To be sure, I whisper, "What did I tell you?" I won't let you go, I had promised her. Nothing will keep us apart. I intend on holding true to that, and as the breeze lifts her scent to me, I know exactly where she must be. My head snaps to the side, and I spot a hollowed-out tree, a space large enough for her to tuck away in. So smart. It makes my whole body flood with warmth at how incredibly resourceful she is. But I will have to tell her that later, because the second my gaze lands on her, she shrieks, the noise splintering in the night air. There's no way the others didn't hear that, and I have to get her out of here. Now. I lurch forward, crossing the distance before her scream cuts off, and grabbing her ankle, I pull her forward out of the tree. I don't tell her what a problem she has caused by screaming. Instead, I murmur, "I'll forgive your mistake, little one. Just this once." Pain lances through my head as something slams into my skull, and reflexively I drop her ankle and stumble back. A deep roar erupts from my chest, and in the distance I hear the shouts of the dark elves. They've found us now, and I am still struggling to recover from the sudden attack. I shake my head, trying to get a grip on my surroundings again. I have to get her out of here, and now her recklessness is going to cost us. My natural instincts surge as she runs, and as my healing capabilities kick in, I start to lose a little of my conscious mind. "That one," I growl, the pain making me a little dizzy. I'm not sure I can forgive. She's only slowing us down further when I want to save her. This time, I chase her, not letting her out of my sight. My footfalls are heavy, but they still are less detectable than hers as they slap against the leaves and dirt. Up ahead, there is uneven ground that I am not sure she has detected in the dim light. If she tumbles over the edge, she will hurt herself or worse, and to protect her, I throw myself forward, my arms wrapping around her body. I curl my long limbs around her as we slam into the ground, taking the brunt of it, though my back and injured wing feel like they are being ripped apart. I grit my teeth and force myself to swallow back the growl building in my throat. Instead, I inhale her scent to remain in control over my body as I weather the brunt of jagged rocks. Our joined bodies tumble down to the edge of a stream, and as we come to a stop, I slam my fists into the ground to keep from crushing her. As a result, Sadie is pinned beneath me, and like the wild little creature she is, she slams her fists against my chest, wanting her release. Her assault does nothing to me, so I watch her as she fights effortlessly for the freedom that she wants. The freedom I want to give her. I just have to get her to safety first. Her arms fall limply at her sides, and I take the chance to reach out and touch her. Between the exhaustion and my injuries, I'm on the verge of losing myself to my madness. My body wants to take over, to feed and heal, and Sadie's arms were bloodied while she ran, or when we fall. Probably both. Either way, the scent is intoxicating, and I want to lick her skin clean, though I fear what it will do to me. I trace my fingers up her side, but as her eyes widen, I realize my mistake. She's going to give away our position again, and though I only want to protect, I must take preventative measures. I slide my hand up to her face and clamp it over her mouth before she calls her attackers to our location again. Trembling, I lower my head to her chest and inhale, soaking in her scent and hoping it will give me the boost I need. I fear I will collapse here in this forest if I don't get the chance to heal soon. Just being pressed against her does wonders for my mind, and slowly I lift my head to look at her. I cock it to the side, watching her as her breathing shudders. But unexpectedly, as I study her, finding the calm from my bloodlust in her eyes, she pinches them shut. Instantly, I want it back. "Look at me," I rumble, and though she does, her body starts to tremble. Is she sustaining injuries too? Does she need to be healed? My mind starts to whir with the desperate need to get out of the woods, and yet my body doesn't move, too entranced now that I am so close to her. A new need, one that is foreign to me, sweeps through me. I felt the desire to hunt before, the insatiable bloodlust, but this all-consuming compulsion to have her grips me in a way I can't ignore. I inhale her scent again, and almost unconsciously my jaws creak open. I barely have control over myself. But with Sadie so close, her scent swirling around me, my senses are muddled by her. I'm acting on instinct. All I know is I have to have her, and there is no stopping my baser needs when they are awakened. I couldn't shut my jaw if I tried. And right now, I don't want to. I want to consume Sadie, so that's what I intend to do.
Chapter 21. Sadie. I tremble beneath the monster as his jaws unhinge, a long, slick tongue unrolling from his open maw above me. Even in the dimness of the moonlight, I can see every gleaming edge of his teeth, each of the wet ridges on his tongue, the dim red light glowing from his eyes, and the centre of his chest only highlighting each depraved detail. He's going to kill me, eat me. I'm going to die in this stupid wedding dress. The monster lowers his skull, his body trembling with what I can only assume is the anticipation of his latest meal as the sun-bleached bone of his skull lowers slowly closer to my exposed neck. I want to squeeze my eyes shut, to scream, but my panic is cut short by confusion as his tongue skates sensually across the base of my neck. A throaty gasp slips from my lips at the sudden warmth of his tongue, the wet length gliding over my hammering pulse. His long tongue slides up, curling and caressing the sensitive, exposed flesh of my neck, tracing along the line of my jaw. I don't even have time to try and make sense of the strange tightening of my stomach before the creature pulls back again, his tongue receding into his mouth as a deep, seemingly satisfied hum vibrates in his massive chest. I stare up at him, my eyes wide in confusion, as his dimly glowing orbs assess me from above. You taste as good as you smell. His voice is a rumble, a sound akin to the beginnings of a devastating earthquake, deep and rough and dangerous. My chest heaves as I pant beneath him, desperately trying to get enough oxygen into my blood for my brain to begin working again. I'm just still winded from running, I tell myself, trying to force my body back into action. Too many questions rise to the tip of my tongue as I stare at the thing above me, my brain still too addled to try and pick just one to start with. Who is this monster? What is this monster? What does he want from me? Why does he keep coming back, no matter how many times he's been chased away? Why do I feel safer with him than I do with Indor? This beast has shown me time and again that he has no problem slaying and destroying anything and anyone in his path, acting every bit the monster he looks, whereas Indor was placating, even kind. Perhaps I feel safer because I at least know what I'm getting when it comes to the monster hovering above me. Despite all of Indor's flowery words and zealous statements, I don't for 1 second believe he meant all of what he said. The beast lowers his skull against my sternum once again, another gasp escaping me at the cool smoothness of the bone as it dips between my breasts. My mind fogs over, the questions I was trying to put words to dissolving in my mind before shouting comes from nearby, multiple voices lapping over each other. Sadie! Find her! Find the creature! Fan out. They can't have gone far. Over here! I found tracks. The creature's head and mind snap back to the woodline behind us as the shouting grows closer, louder. The dark elves are looking for me, no doubt at the orders of Indor and his father. A part of me thinks I should start shouting, try to draw them closer, signal my position so they can rescue me from this monster that behaves so strangely, that's holding me captive on the banks of this creek. But for whatever reason, I don't. Maybe it's because I know what's waiting for me if I allow them to take me back to the manor. I knew from the moment I met Indor that I didn't trust him and didn't want to be his mate. But I didn't realise just how deeply those feelings ran until I was standing before that altar with him. Be quiet, the monster warns me, dragging my attention back to him. In one fluid movement, he's off of me, my skin stinging with the sudden loss of his body heat. The beast gathers me into his arms as powerful wings unfold from his back. A second later, we're in the air, the cold wind ripping at us as we soar through the night sky. Despite my instincts to be terrified of him, to try and flee, I cling to him, my fingers twining in the short, dark fur on his back and shoulders as I hold on for dear life. "No, stop!" I shriek, catching sight of the ground far, far below us. I've had enough falling to last a lifetime. I have no interest in doing so again. The beast ignores me, continuing to steer us through the tearing gales toward the mountain range beyond. Fear begins clawing in my chest and up my throat. I can't do this. I can't be this high up. I'm going to fall. I begin to squirm involuntarily, mindless panic taking over. The creature tightens his grip on me, but between my motions and the tear in his wing still seeping blood, we begin to lurch this way and that, his wings struggling to keep us on course, with my weight tipping to and fro. Suddenly, we begin to drop, the ground rushing up to meet us at a dizzying speed. I scream, grappling for purchase against the monster's chest, every muscle clenching tightly in anticipation of the impact. But it never comes. Instead, we land gracefully, the monster's knees bending to absorb our impact as we drop into an isolated meadow surrounded by towering trees. I struggle to breathe, the panic from my latest scrape with death not subsiding despite the fact that we're once again on solid ground. Seeming to realise I need space, the creature sets me down gently, my knees wobbling as I get my feet under me. As quickly as the panic overtook me, rage sweeps in at the creature who continues to jeopardise my life, and I whirl on him. "Are you trying to kill me?" I ask shrilly, unable to bring myself to care that I'm chastising this terrifying beast like a misbehaving Batlaz pup. The monster backs away a half pace, seemingly startled by my reaction. No. His response is simple, no hint of sarcasm or even attempted soothing in his voice. The directness of his answer only further frustrates me. Who is this monster? "Really? You're not trying to kill me?" I ask sarcastically, derision dripping from my words. "Then maybe you should stop putting me in danger." The creature bristles, taking a menacing step toward me. "You would not be in danger if you behaved," he growls back. I let out a humourless laugh, throwing my hands in the air. "Oh, behave! How silly of me not to behave! Well, you know what? I am tired of being told to behave," I scream back at him. Years of pent-up anger and hurt suddenly undam in my chest, sweeping through me with the force of a flood. All my life, I've been told to be quiet, sit pretty, be grateful for the barest morsels of life that I was allowed. I was told to spread my legs, open my mouth, bat my eyelashes just so, and grovel for the simplest things. And I am so bone-achingly tired of it all. I don't realise that my face is wet with rageful, heartbroken tears until the monster is looming in front of me again, the moonlight casting his dim shadow across me, as he raises a massive hand to my face, gently brushing at my tears. He rubs the wetness between his fingers, cocking his head curiously as he stares down at them. The weight of my actions, the way I've goaded and poked at the monster before me, suddenly sweeps in. I don't know if I should be embarrassed that he's witnessing such a vulnerable moment or downright terrified, but I don't have time to decide before he speaks again. "What is this?" he rumbles, his gaze still locked on the wetness on his fingers. His question startles me, no hint of aggression in his body language or voice. I just screamed at him, gave him every reason to just eat me and be done with it, but he wants to know what tears are? I stiffen, not wanting to reveal my weakness to him. He's clearly too brutish to understand anyway. "Nothing," I say, turning away and wiping the tears from my cheeks. "You wouldn't understand if I told you anyway," I add bitterly. "I understand a great many things," he replies. Again, there's no hint of pride, no swell of emotion or reproach in his voice. Just simple, clean fact. I'm not sure if he's just choosing not to respond to my barbs or if he genuinely doesn't understand the subtext of them, but I don't care. I just want everything to go back to normal. I shake my head, still refusing to look up at the monster. Despite everything that's raging through me, all the hurt and fear and confusion, I know deep down in my bones that this beast isn't going to hurt me. I don't understand it, or know why he wouldn't eat me the way he has so many others. But he's had plenty of opportunities to hurt me and has taken none of them. Why are you doing this? Why haven't you eaten me? What do you even want from me? I ask, intending for my words to be demands he can't shy away from. Instead, I just sound tired, defeated. You are my blood song. My gaze shoots up to his eyeless orbs, my brows knitting together in confusion. He says that like I should know what it means, like it explains everything that's transpired in the past weeks. When I realise he's not going to offer me any further explanation, I sigh. What do you mean, blood song? Your scent, your blood. It's different. It sings like something other. Other blood does not. So you took me because I smell good? I ask incredulously. Yes, you are my mate. Shock rolls through me the second the words rumble from his chest. This monster thinks I'm his mate, all because I smell good. Mate? I sputter back at him, my eyes wide. I'm not your mate. I don't even know your name. Renem, he says, as if that solves all of the raging thoughts rolling through me. That's not what I meant, I groan, rubbing my hands over my face. I am not this monster's mate. I'm just a human woman who's somehow gotten embroiled in all of this mess. We are not mates, I say forcefully, looking back up at Renem. You don't know anything about me. Just because I smell good, or my blood sings, or whatever, doesn't mean that I'm your mate. Fated mates aren't even real. Yes, they are, Renew counters coolly, watching me pace frantically. You're my mate. I growl my frustration, feeling like I'm mere seconds away from ripping my hair out. There's no use in arguing with a monster, but I know we're not mates. We can't be. I'm about to tell him as much when Renem's head whips back toward the trees. We need to go, he says, stepping forward as if he means to pick me up again. I stumble back, images of the ground spinning far beneath me flashing in my mind. Oh no, you are not taking me back into the sky, I warn him, trying to force some sternness into my quivering voice. If you have to go, just go. Let me leave. I promise I won't tell anyone anything. No. The force in Renem's voice makes the hair on the back of my neck stand on end, a glimpse of the predator I've seen in action peeking out for the first time since we dropped into this meadow. I will not hurt you, but you are coming with me. And then, faster than I can react, he lunges for me.
In a world of elves, demons, and liches.
What would you choose?
Power?
Or passion?
Would you stab the monster in the back?
Or take him to bed?
The immersive fantasy audiobook bundle has it all.
Go to worldsofprotheka.com to get access.
Use code YouTube30 to get an additional 30% off.
Protheka's magic is eternal. Audio bundles will make it immersive.
Chapter 22. Renem. Sadie screams like an eye pinnet caught in thorns as I snatch her off the ground, my wings extending as soon as she's in my grasp and launching us into the air. Her small hands wind into my fur once again, clutching at me as a gale blows us toward the mountain range where my cave resides. The feeling of her hands gripping me like I'm her only salvation makes a strange feeling bloom in my chest, something warm and soft. I like when she holds on to me. I like having her so near. It's an effort not to drop my skull to her chest once again, to relish in her soft, warm skin and get more of her scent on me. Do not struggle, I warn her, as her scent begins to twinge with panic once again. I will not let you get hurt, but you must be still. The nerves in my torn wings scream with the effort of keeping us in the air, only made worse by Sadie's added weight. Were it not for my injuries, I would have no problem getting us both to my cave, whether she struggled or not. Considering the state of my wing, however, It's a fight just to stay upright. Thankfully, Sadie complies, either because she does not wish to fall, or because she can sense the severity of my wounds. It's nice to fly with her warm little body nestled so closely to mine. I think I would prefer to fly this way every time I spread my wings, rather than fly alone like I always have. "Where are you taking me?" Sadie asks, her already soft voice made all the quieter by the ripping winds around us. "Home," I reply, my eyes still on the mountains ahead. Sadie stiffens in my arms, as if she wants to fight with my choice of words, but I pointedly ignore her reaction. "We need to go to the city," she argues, her hand twitching as though she wants to point toward the distant twinkling lights to the east. "No." "Yes," Sadie challenges. I bite back a sigh at her demands, trying to keep my focus on the path ahead. The hole in my wing pulls painfully with each gust of wind, the incessant, involuntary twitching radiating through the membrane, making it even harder to stay on course. "If you're going to make me stay with you, I'm going to need certain things." "Human things," Sadie continues, something in her voice reminding me of the way prey tries to evade a predator. At least she seems to know better than to argue that my cave is not going to be her home. "What type of things?" I ask without looking down. "Food, water, clothes, a bed, a bathroom," she lists off. A familiar feeling twists lightly in my chest, and I place it faster than usual. Humor. It is humorous to me that Sadie thinks she is being sneaky and can trick me into doing her bidding. Her motivations are rather obvious. I'm sure in her human mind a city is the perfect place to go if she's looking to avoid me. Humans are prey, after all, and never seem to know when they're walking into a den of predators. And the cities on Protheka are the largest dens of predators for humans. "What makes you think I don't have those things?" I ask smoothly, chancing a glance down at her face. The humorous emotion in my chest only swells as her face turns a deep shade of scarlet, her mouth opening and closing like a fish that's been drugged from the river. I exhale sharply, the huff reminding me of something I've seen my prey do. Sadie's eyes widen at the noise, but I hardly notice, trying to find the word that describes my sudden, humorous exhale. A laugh, I realize. I laughed. I don't know that I've ever done that before, at least not because of any true humor. Sadie eyes me cautiously, her mouth still opening and closing around her unsaid words. My fingers itch with the desire to touch the pretty shade of red that lays over her cheeks, to smooth the crease between her brows. "Well, you don't seem like the luxury type," Sadie eventually says, her scarlet shade deepening as she looks away from my face. "I've seen what you eat. It's not the same as what I eat," she flounders. I huff another laugh. I enjoy talking with her. Her face moves in so many different ways. I find that I want to know what all of those ways mean. She gasps suddenly, and I jerk to the right, immediately on high alert for whatever may have worried her enough to make her react like that. Her fingers pull tighter at my fur as I straighten us out, scanning the forest below and looking for any sign of what may have caused her reaction. "You're hard," Sadie says softly, one of her hands moving hesitantly to brush over my chest. I glance down, alarmed, only to find my heart intact and its usual shade of red shining from between my ribs. "It changed colors," Sadie murmurs, glancing back up to meet my gaze. "It does not change colors," I tell her, focusing back on the looming mountains. "Well, it did just now. It was almost yellow," she argues. My energy is flagging after our flight, so I don't respond, trying to focus on the final stretch of land between us and my cave. It's taken longer than usual for me to get us to my cave, nestled into the side of the mountain and surrounded by thick woods. By the time I'm dropping us down to the ground before the cave entrance, my body is trembling with the strain, my landing harder than usual. The second Sadie is safely on the ground, my knees shake, threatening to collapse beneath me. "Renem?" she asks, her voice trembling slightly. I place a hand along the craggy rock surrounding the mouth of my cave, leaning against it to help support my weight as I extend my wing gingerly, surveying the damage. I hiss as my fingers move over the tender flesh, my wing already hard at work healing itself. In mere hours, I'm sure it will be gone. But for now, I find it quite uncomfortable. Sadie closes the distance between us, her fingers brushing across my wing softly. A shiver rolls through my body at her tender touch, a sudden heat flaming in my belly. I watch her face as she gazes at my wing, soaking in the delicate planes of her cheeks and the soft, stormy blue of her eyes. She nibbles on her lip as she looks at my wing before peering up at me through thick lashes. "You're hurt," she says, more of a statement than a question. "It will be gone within the day," I respond. I don't know why, but something about her simple statement makes me feel warm inside. I like that she has noticed I'm hurt. It means she has taken notice of me, of my body. Unsure of how, or even if I should try to put that sentiment into words, I cross into the cave, Sadie hot on my heels. Using the matches I had taken from a stray hunter I ate in the woods, I light the candle sitting on the table near the mouth of the cave, adding to the warm, flickering glow of the fire burning in the contraption I snagged off an elf and illuminating my cave. Sadie gasps again as she wanders deeper into the cave, taking in everything I've collected for her. Humans are delicate creatures. I've always known this. So when I detected Sadie's blood song, I began to prepare. A pile of blankets are nestled deep in the back of the cave, laid on top of one another, to give her fragile body a good place to rest. Beside the pile, I stacked books I'd found in the city, many of them in poor condition but readable nonetheless. I gathered leftover clothes from my prey, piling them neatly across from the bed and next to a tall arrangement of canned food suitable for human consumption, alongside a heavy pot, a small metal burner I watched a dark elf light a fire in, and a large skin of water I collected from a campsite. Other odds and ends are placed along the walls of my cave, various utensils I found that could be useful like bowls and spoons, a large hunting knife, dried herbs and meats, and other various supplies. In truth, while I knew of the basics necessary for survival, after stalking several dark elf groups that would camp in the woods, I was unsure how much any one human would need. Instead of leaving it up to chance, I simply gathered as much as I could. Sadie takes in the cave, surveying every detail before turning back to me. Something soft plays in her eyes, and I decide that I like it when she looks at me like this. "You did all of this? For me?" A foreign, swelling feeling blooms behind my ribs, and my chest puffs up as I look down at her and nod. "I would do anything for you," I tell her. "I do not want to hurt you, or see you be hurt. I want to give you the things you need." Sadie's lips twitch before her eyes dart down to my chest and widen. "Look, it's changed color again," she says animatedly, pointing at my heart. I glance down just in time to see the swirling color around my heart bleed from yellow back into red. The red only lasts for a moment, however, before it fades into a pale pink. "It's never done that before," I say, poking at my chest. I glance back up to find Sadie looking at me strangely, but before I can ask what this facial movement means, a loud growl echoes through the cave. I whirl toward the cave entrance, ready to take on whatever other predator has happened by, when Sadie shuffles from over my shoulder. I glance back at her to tell her to back away to safety, only to find her face is yet again a deep shade of red. "Oh, I'm hungry," she says lamely. "That sound came from you?" I ask, lifting my nose to the air. Sure enough, I scent no danger nearby, no trace of any predator that may be lurking outside the cave. "Yes," Sadie says defensively, lifting her chin. "All human stomachs growl when they're hungry." "I've never heard this," I tell her, my muscles loosening now that I know there's no looming threat to her. "Well, it's true," she says stubbornly. "How strange. This human female. I think I like it." I follow her as she walks to the stack of cans I've arranged for her, watching with interest as she peers at different labels and picks out what she wants. Sadie glances over her shoulder at me, the crimson in her cheeks fading as her eyes soften. Do you want me to show you how to cook?" she asks timidly. "Cook?" I parrot, unfamiliar with the word. My lack of knowledge must be obvious because Sadie nods, motioning for me to come closer. Yes, cook. Humans cook their food. It's like adding fire, I guess. You use a pot like this one, she says, struggling to lift the cast iron pot. With one hand, I reach around her, lifting the pot easily. Oh, thanks, Sadie says quietly, glancing over her shoulder at me. Put it on top of the burner. I do as she instructs, the flames licking greedily at the bottom of the pot. Like I was saying, you use a pot and place it over a fire, then add what you want to cook. Why? I ask, sniffing at the ingredients she adds to the pot. Humans can't eat raw things, or at least raw meat, Sadie explains as she stirs the medley of canned goods in the pot. Plus, it tastes better. I hum in lieu of a response, watching her work. Something must catch her eye in the nearby stack of cans, and she reaches for it, stretching over the burner, her hand bumping a lower can and sending it tumbling. I catch it before it can hit the ground, but the sudden jerk startles Sadie. She stumbles backward, her foot catching on a stray rock and nearly sending her sprawling to the ground. Faster than I can form a thought, my arm lashes out, wrapping around her waist and tugging her to my chest to keep her from falling. No sooner is her little body flush with mine, does a strange feeling roll through me, like lightning striking over and over again everywhere her body is pressed to mine. I jerk back, dropping my hold on Sadie as residual tingles race through my arms. Sadie gapes at me, which tells me I'm not the only one who felt whatever that was. She rubs her arms, backing away from me a few paces as she stares. What did you do to me?
Chapter 23. Sadie. Electricity zips through my body as I stare at Renem, who's defensively crouched a safe distance away from me. Every inch of my skin that touched him is on fire, alight with some strange energy I don't know how to name. What did you just do to me? I repeat, fear and anger beginning to creep into the back of my mind. I've never experienced anything like that before. It felt like magic, zipping across my bones and through my veins, and yet it also felt entirely different. I did not do anything. Renew rumbles, his body hunched in on himself as if he's trying to make himself smaller, less threatening. Yes, you did. I felt it. It felt like magic, I say. Despite my best efforts, my anger begins to leach away as I look at him. In spite of his somewhat monstrous appearance, I find it hard to believe that Renem would do anything to hurt me. So far, he's proven to be more of a gentleman than any dark elf I've ever met, even if he looks inhuman and has pretty, animated ways of protecting me. I did not use magic, Renem insists, drawing himself up to his full height and cocking his skull curiously at me. But you do have magic, I press. Curiosity about the creature before me begins to outweigh all of my other emotions, even the niggling fear still present in the back of my mind. With everything that's happened in my life, it's difficult to believe that a beast as imposing as Renem wouldn't try to hurt me in some way, either through magic or anything else. Only when I eat those with magic, he replies. I suppress the shudder that threatens to roll through me at his casual mention of eating people. Do you do that often? I ask, a trembling lilt in my voice. Renem lifts one shoulder at me in a surprisingly human gesture, only further softening me to him despite the sordid topic of conversation. I eat what will give me the most. What do you mean? I do not know how to describe it to a human, Renem replies, slowly, carefully. What I consume becomes a part of me. If I eat something sick, I become sick. If I eat something strong, I become strong. If I eat something smart, I become smart. And if you eat someone magic, I prompt. I become magic, he confirms. I hum thoughtfully at this, assessing him over the slim space between us. He's remarkably intelligent considering his more primal nature, and the fact that he has magic tells me he's probably eaten more than just a few dark elves. Is that why you have a dark elf skull? I blurt out before I can stop myself. I feel heat rise to my cheeks at the forwardness of my question, knowing the madam would slap me silly if I'd ever been so brash with a patron of the bordello. I don't know what social graces still apply in a situation where I'm living in a cave with a creature that haunts the dark elves' nightmares, but I certainly don't want to offend him. I have never thought about it, but that would make sense. They are my preferred prey. The bright side is that he doesn't seem taken aback by my brash question. The not-so-bright side is that my stomach now feels leaden, thinking about Renem's palate when it comes to what he hunts. It's almost better to believe that he hunts indiscriminately, rather than to think about him comparing the tastes of the beings he hunts. I shake my head, returning to the fully cooked vegetables in the bottom of my pot and trying to clear my mind of this train of thought. I grab a bowl that's stashed beside the cans and scoop some of the vegetables into it. I've never cooked before, as it wasn't part of my education in the bordello. I wasn't allowed to do anything that may get me dirty or hurt me, or otherwise make me undesirable to any of our patrons. It strikes me suddenly, as I sit down at the little table Renem's placed in the centre of the cave, that I'm finally doing something other than just sitting around and looking pretty. The bordello's main goal was to teach us to be little more than useless dolls, trained to parrot whatever our masters say and bend over when they want a hole to fill. For the very first time in my life, I'm doing something useful. I'm cooking. I scoop some of the vegetables into my mouth, chewing thoughtfully as I stare at the forest beyond the cave. The vegetables certainly aren't the best thing I've ever eaten, slightly mushy from being overcooked and incredibly bland, but they're edible. Renem and I sit in an almost companionable silence as I watch lumiolas flicker to life as twilight falls, their lit-up ends bobbing and weaving between trees in a hypnotic dance. I never realised just how beautiful the woods could be. We were never allowed outside for any real length of time, especially not at night. The forest seems like a living entity unto itself, the branches high above swaying gently in the brisk breeze. There's a very real fear that still simmers beneath my skin, probably due to my current company and the fact that I'm outside of the bordello's walls for the first time, but past the unpleasant anxiety I feel, at peace, excited even about what all of this may mean for me. If I survive Renem, that is. I don't realise I've finished my bowl of vegetables until my spoon scrapes loudly against the tin bottom of the bowl, the sound deafening in the pleasant quiet. This is the first time I've ever eaten without someone telling me to stop. It's nice, although I probably should have stopped sooner, given that I feel full to bursting. With a small groan, I lift myself out of my chair, placing the empty bowl and spoon next to the pot. I'll wash them tomorrow, I tell myself. I doubt Renem has much experience with things like chores, although the image of his massive body hunched over a pile of dirty dishes has me fighting a smile. Maybe this isn't so bad after all. No one has ever given me this kind of freedom to simply exist in peace. I didn't realise how overwhelming and demanding my life at the bordello truly was until just now. When I turn back to Renem, he's already staring at me, still crouched beside the chair at the table, his skull cocked slightly. My cheeks burn with the realisation that he just watched me scarf down an entire meal. A part of me wishes I knew what he was thinking, but then again, I'm not sure I really do. "I will go get you what you desire," Renem suddenly announces, drawing himself up to his full height before turning to leave. The hole in his wing is already nearly stitched closed, though not fully healed yet. And he moves with a fluidity that makes me wonder how he was able to regenerate so much energy so fast. What? The word sounds sharp as it falls from my lips, my anxiety spiking at his declaration. What I desire? What do I desire? Your human things. I will get them for you. You mean you're leaving? I ask shrilly. It's with no small amount of embarrassment that I realise he's referring to the things I demanded of him on our way to the cave. I was just hoping he'd think I was more work than I was worth and let me go. I didn't think he'd actually try to provide those things for me. An hour ago I'd wanted nothing more than for Renem to leave me alone long enough for me to escape. But now, looking out at the dark forest around us, the idea of being alone brings me nothing but panic. Yes, he responds simply before turning around again, taking a step toward the mouth of the cave. I scramble after him, my heart in my throat as I step between him and the exit. But where are you even going to get all of those things? I demand, reaching for some way to make him stay. In the city. City. He's going into the city. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. I'm going with you, I declare, trying to give him a no-nonsense look despite the fact that I have to crane my neck up to look him in the eyes. You will stay here, Renem rumbles, trying to step around me. I step right back into his path, frustration beginning to bubble behind my ribs. No, I won't. I'm coming with you. It's not safe. You will stay here. It's not any safer here, I say, throwing my hands up exasperatedly. I'm alone in the middle of the woods with no way to defend myself. I am fast. I will be back before anything reaches my cave, Renem replies simply. But what if you're not? I challenge, chancing a step closer to him. There are hordes of dark elves looking for me, not to mention whatever other predators stalk these woods. I could be dead in a minute. I'm safer with you. Renem goes quiet for a moment, seemingly weighing his options. Hope begins to bloom in my chest as we stare at each other, and after a long moment, he sighs. Come, he says, gathering me into his arms. I don't know that I'll ever get used to how closely he holds me, or the resounding boom of that first beat of his wings, but there's something nice about being huddled so closely to his chest. The soft red glow of his heart seems to emanate heat, and I curl closer to him as the cold wind whips around us. His heart responds to my nearness, the red ebbing into a soft yellow. I drag my hand across the source of the light in wonder, streaks of violet growing at my touch. How interesting. The colour seems to change with his feelings, but I have yet to riddle out what any of them mean. Yellow seems to mean happy or proud, but the violet is new. Before I can think about it anymore, we're descending. There's a small opening in the forest's canopy, curls of smoke rising to greet us as we drop just on the outskirts of the little town. Reading was part of our education in the bordello, so that we could be more interesting partners. It was always one of my favourite ways to spend my time, with picturesque little towns and knights in shining armour depicted on every page. This town is nothing like the towns in my books, however. The buildings seem worn, the wood pitted and slightly green with age, each of the structures leaning as if they're too heavy to support their own weight. The streets are muddy and rocky, the gravel of the paths sinking into the earth as if the forest is trying to swallow the town up. No one is outside, which is normal for this time of night, I suppose, but it only adds to the eerie, abandoned feeling of the little village. Renem sets me down quietly, leading the way into the town. A part of me wants to yell, to bring attention to our intrusion in the hopes that somebody will save me, but that idea quickly fizzles out. This doesn't look like the type of town that would be full of prospective heroes. We move quietly through the town, Renem much faster than I would have expected, even having seen him in action. He disappears around a corner, and by the time I'm rounding the same one to get to him, he has a massive bed cradled in his arms. Where did you even get that? I whisper incredulously. He carries it as if it weighs nothing, despite the bed being as big as him. Renem lifts one shoulder at me again, as if procuring the bed were as simple as breathing. I am sneaky. I can't help the smile that spreads over my face. But how do you expect to carry that all the way back to the cave? I ask sceptically. Without responding, Renem opens his hand, a length of rope dangling from his fingers like magic. He carefully spreads his wings, standing the bed up on one side and crouching slightly to press his back flush against the centre of the mattress. He secures it quickly, tucking his wings back so they cradle the sides of the bed. How are you going to fly like that, though? I ask, stepping closer to marvel at the ease with which he carries the bed on his back. It hasn't affected his posture or gait at all. You'd think he was carrying an empty knapsack and not a mattress nearly twice my size. Renem notices my gaze, and the dull red light of his heart begins to fade back to yellow. I do not need to fly. I can run while I carry you. I'm fast. An incredulous laugh slips through my lips, and I shake my head. I suppose being a creature of nightmares would give one some special abilities, but I never thought he was this strong. He somehow finds more food and clothes, securing them to his back with a bag too. And just when I think he's going to try and tie the whole village to his body, he pauses. Now all we are missing is a bathroom, Renem says, casting a glance over his shoulder. I think you'd have some trouble carrying that one, I joke. But when Renem turns back to look at me, it dawns on me that my sense of humour is lost on him. I will not fail. Where do I find one? Oh, well, I really don't think you can carry a bathroom, I say a bit sheepishly. Not because you're not strong enough, I add quickly, noticing the way he bristles at my perceived insult. It's just that they're whole rooms, attached to houses. Renem grunts, his shoulders sagging slightly, as if disappointed. I feel a pang of guilt for making so many requests of him. I didn't mean for him to feel bad if he wasn't able to fulfill them. I didn't think he'd even try to fulfill them in the first place, truthfully. If I cannot carry it, I will build you one, Renem says finally, and my eyes shoot to his face. Build me one. You don't have to do that, I say quickly, hating how guilty I feel for making him feel this way. Renem brushes me off, starting back up the path that will lead us out of the village. I will do it. I will build you a bathroom. The funny thing is, I know he's being honest. I'm beginning to think that Renem would do anything for me if I asked him to. The realization makes me feel strange, a twisting heaviness settling into my stomach. I don't understand why he's being so kind. No one has ever tried this hard for me, and I don't know what to make of it. I open my mouth to say something, to thank him for all of his effort, when shouting catches my attention. Faster than I can register, Renem scoops me into his arms and begins running. Over his shoulder, shutters on the houses open, light flooding the narrow street. Humans scream about the monster running through their town, shouting for help, and my heart leaps into my throat. I don't want us to be caught, I realise. I want to go back to the cave. Dark elf voices begin to mingle with those of the humans, growing closer as they chase after us. Renem, despite all of his strength and speed, is injured and carrying not only a massive bed, but me. The sounds of the dark elves chasing us grow louder, my heart rate kicking up as I glance up at Renem's face. He's carrying too much, moving too slowly. We're going to be caught.
Orcs, gargoyles, vampires, ice monsters, demons of the dark. These beasts seek war, destruction, and power. And there's only one thing that can tame them.
Love.
This is your chance to get the uncut and unabridged audiobook bundle.
No detail is spared.
Use discount code YouTube30 for an additional 30% off of the already discounted price.
Go to worldsofprotheka.com.
Get access to countless audiobooks and discounted bundles where I talk you through every last scene.
Protheka's magic is eternal. Audio bundles will make it immersive.